Hey everyone, welcome back to another video by Camroom 5. After studying about cells and tissues, we are going for a higher level for organs and organ systems. Now imagine a white man. We will be placing all the organs to understand the placement of various organ systems. Now that's not specific for white people, but generally. So here you can see the entire digestive system, which is in charge of ingesting food, digesting it, using the components for body growth, and ultimately ingesting the unwanted food. So look at the placement. It begins with the mouth, which has the buccal cavity. So your tongue, your teeth, your salivary glands are all inside the buccal cavity. I'm connecting nasal cavity also here, although it's not a part of the digestive system, because both these cavities connect with a portion known as pharynx. The pharynx is where your food pipe and your windpipe bifurcate. The long tube you see, the muscular tube, is the esophagus, which is the food pipe. Then you can see the stomach, which is this muscular bag where most of the proteins are digested. It's highly acidic within the stomach. The upper portion of the stomach is the cardiac region, which is closer to the heart. That's the only reason. And then the lower part is known as the pyloric region. We'll talk about the structure more specifically in the upcoming videos, definitely. Then you have this highly coiled tube, which is the intestine. The small intestine is a highly coiled structure which has the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. So these three parts, duodenum, jejunum, and ileum, make the small intestine. Then this dark brown portion you see is the large intestine. The large intestine also has various parts, but you don't have to name the structures, because O level or A level, neither of them talks about it. The large intestine finally makes sure that undigested food goes into a bag known as rectum, where your feces are stored, and then finally through the ends, the undigested food comes out of the body. Now another organ very important is the liver, you can see. And then this green part is a gallbladder, where a liquid known as bile is stored. Another small organ you can see on the right hand side below the stomach is the pancreas, which also produces digestive enzymes. Now imagine the white man again. Now we'll recall the positioning of the nervous system. Now the system looks comparatively more simpler, but it's one of the most complicated systems of the body. You can see that the skull, or you can say the cranium, is there on the head. It protects the brain because brain is immensely delicate. Then the brain, which is composed of the cells known as neurons. The brain has this bigger upper portion known as the cerebrum. The portion on the right side you see, this light blue portion, is the cerebellum, which controls my body movements and my body balancing. There's another portion at the bottom known as the hypothalamus, and closely located is the pituitary gland. We'll talk about it in the upcoming videos. Then at the base of the brain is a part known as the medulla oblongata, which controls my involuntary actions like breathing, like respiration. A tube comes out of the brain known as the spinal cord. This spinal cord is protected by a set of bones known as the vertebral column. That is why when the vertebral column is damaged, it also affects the spinal cord. There are so many delicate, fine nerves coming out of the spinal cord known as the spinal nerves, which end blindly into each organ. And the nerves coming out of the brain are known as the cranial nerves. These nerves are also made of the same cells known as the neurons. There's a fluid between the skull and, like the brain, known as the cerebrospinal fluid, again for the exchange. Coming back to the white guy, now we'll talk about the positioning of the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system, also known as the circulatory system, has the main organ, which is the heart. The heart has a covering on it, which is known as the pericardium. In O levels, you don't use the word pericardium, but in AS level, you will come across this. Heart has 4 chambers in mammals. It's divided into left part and the right part. So when we talk about either side, for example, if we talk about the left part, it has a upper atrium and a ventricle, and then right side has a right atrium and right ventricle. So these are the all 4 chambers. We'll talk about this structure very in detail when we'll talk about this chapter. The lungs are connected with the heart through blood vessels, like every other organ, but lungs are important here. There's a big vessel coming out of the heart, which is the aorta. It brings the blood to all the organs of the body. From the aorta, you can see multiple smaller branches coming out, which are known as the arteries. The arteries go to each organ. The blue blood vessels you see are the veins. They're bringing the blood back. So arteries carry the blood from the heart to the organs. For example, kidneys, livers, lungs. The veins bring the blood back to the heart. And then the final veins enter the heart. In the end, we'll talk about the urinary system. The urinary system is not that complicated. It has 2 kidneys. The left kidney is a little higher than the right one. Both the kidneys have their covering membranes known as the peritoneum. So you have 2 kidneys. There are tubes coming out of the kidneys which carry the urine. These tubes are known as the ureters. The urine is carried in a bag known as the urinary bladder, and then there's a finally fine tube coming out of the bladder, which is known as the urethra. From the urethra, your urine is finally removed out of the body. So, how is the urine made is a different question. I haven't showed the blood vessels because it would make it more complicated. Blood actually comes into the kidneys, where kidneys filter the blood. Within the kidneys, there are smaller structures. These microscopic structures are known as the nephrons. So these nephrons will filter the blood to remove the unwanted toxic particles out of it. We'll talk about the nephrons even further. So these are the important organs within the body, and we'll come across more organs like the endocrine system, or perhaps you can say the reproductive system, but when we do, we'll do that.